Hey guys, and welcome to this addition to the Danganronpa MP first dev stream. Just want to say a quick thanks to everyone for all the support so far. It's been really good, amazing. And today I just want to have a little addition to the dev stream because I realized I didn't go into as much detail with the music as I would have liked. That's my bad. We kind of got sidetracked on the dev stream with a few questions, and it just went from there, and we just missed out some things. So I'm just going to cover it in this video. Pretty much the thing I'm going to be covering is it's going to be to do with the music and like what I think makes the Danganronpa soundtrack so good, and how I'm going to plan to utilize what I can learn from the Danganronpa soundtrack to use into the when I eventually do make the music for the Danganronpa multiplayer. I'll pretty much just go over what I'm going to be using from this and what I've learned from it. Just give you guys a little insight into a little bit of insight into the music process, like what little bits I look out for, what pretty much makes you feel what, essentially, is what I'm going to be going over. And got a few pieces from the Danganronpa soundtrack lined up to start with. First one I'm going to be talking about is the discussion heat up. If I just play a bit of feud, just so you can know what I'm talking about, because names can be a bit off sometimes, they're a bit hard to understand, they're lost in translation. So this is a bit of music we'll be listening to. There. So that's a bit of music. Just going to move forward a bit, just so hopefully you recognize the music from the game. Most of the music is going to be taken from the first game soundtrack, because I know it's just personally what I enjoy listening to the most. There are a couple bits that are going to be taken from the second game. I'm going to be avoiding the third game because there's not too much I need to take from there. So anyway, about 40 seconds in, this is when you can hear the bit I want to talk about the most. I'm just going to play through once without saying anything, and then I'll go over what you can hear in it and what makes you feel what. Alright, so first thing I want to say is what I like about Masafumi's Takada's work here is that he has done an excellent job with this, because he has a lot of subliminal noises. If you don't know what that means, it pretty much means noises that you don't notice, but it's kind of your brain notices it, but it doesn't like acknowledge it, so you don't think of it as actually being there, but it makes you feel something. You know, which I bet is actually showing. You can hear it right at the start. Right here. If you want to listen out for a little high-pitched noise, there's a very high-pitched note here that sounds, once you notice it, you'll notice it sounds it sounds like it sort of clashes a bit with the rest of the sound. And I believe if we go forward a bit, it comes through again. There you go, here again. If you heard it, you'll probably notice it's like this long, very long drawn out notes, very high pitch, and like they clash with the music below it, like the main theme, but the main theme that's playing under it. Now, personally, also I feel to say this is all my interpretation of the Danganronpa soundtrack. It may or may not be what Masafumi intended, but this is just how I'm interpreting it. Feel free to have your own opinions and sort of interpret in different ways. That's what this is all about. So I purely think that's there to create like a feeling of dread, because that's what the characters are feeling. It's trying to make you more immersed in the game, you know, making you feel the dread the characters are feeling, and it's there. You don't notice it and that's just what's happening to them in the game as well. They're focused on the trial. They're not focused on the dread of what happened, like the despair of what happened. They are focused on the trial, and it's like it's there in the background. They know it's there, but like you don't notice it, and that's exactly what this music achieves. And then also one thing, that's pretty much it. Next thing we're going to be going in for is the hope versus despair, this non-stop debate music. I'll just play a bit of it so you can recognize it. Alright, so that's the hope versus despair music. I can't 100% remember where this is used in the game, but I know it's definitely used towards the end of the game in the final trial. Pretty much the first thing to notice is that it's a lot of a heavier sound. You can feel the sounds a lot heavier, much darker. You know, that's encouraging the feeling of despair. You know, obviously deeper sounds don't make you feel great. It's all kind of like, I don't know, it kind of brings you down a bit because it's like really, it brings you down, like the pitch of the note brings you down based on how low it is. So if the note's lower, it will make you feel sort of more down. And then one thing I also want to see is you can hear right here. Actually, no, this bit photo up here. This is one thing I do like. Now, take into note that this the name of this part of this name of this song in the soundtrack is Hope versus Despair, and I like to think of the I'll jump back a bit. I killed like this like the random noises. You know, you can't really put an instrument to it. It sounds like sort of like distorted voices. I didn't go back far enough. And pretty much what I like to think of that like that's like the confusion of the trial. Like people who are not 100% sure what's going on don't have an argument. Like, you know, the white noise in the game. That's what I like to think of that as. Pause that because I was going to end up going back into the bit I want to talk about next. But like it's sort of meant to be despair because it's all still low pitched, like I said. So it's all low pitched. It's very dark and deep. You know, it's the people who don't know what they're doing that's making them feel despair because they feel useless in the trial because they can't do anything at that time. And then what I like to think of it is this bit here. Now some of you may recognise that bit of music here, from here. That's one thing I like about the soundtrack, is that he brings in these recurring themes, like recurring dark notes. I believe in here I am. This one doesn't actually have the sort of hidden despair, like, because the despair's right up in front of you. Something that changes, like, everything has like a hint of despair and a hint of hope, and that's what this like escalating notes are. These notes are like going up in pitch gradually, sort of getting louder and louder. That's the hope, like breaking through the despair, is how I like to think of it. You know, it's a lot more higher pitch. It really, it's a lot more different to the rest of the song. Like, as you can hear, it's like all very dark, and you know, it's very despair, and then all of a sudden there's this like bit of hope that just shines through and breaks through the despair. And that's what the cast shots are. Like, every time they make a contradiction, every time they find a contradiction, it normally brings hope to them. Like, they're like, oh yeah, we're one step closer to figuring this out, you know. There's this bit here. I'm not 100% sure. I do like to think of linking this back. Like, there's those little like recurrent like note pattern. I do like to think that links back to the main Danganronpa soundtrack, which I will do want to link something to as well. Because if you hang on, nope, too far back. Like, hear the little like just like illegible voices. They're like the voices you can't understand. I like to think of it like linked to the. You can kind of feel like the drum beats the same pattern, and this is for where this is the main Danganronpa sound, this main Danganronpa theme. I think like the drum beat, it kind of matches it a lot, and it's like it's still like all these bits of music are linked in some way or another, all through like the unified hope versus despair, which is what the game's all about. Next thing. Don't know why I had that. And then last thing I want to go over, this is kind of jumping forward a bit, jumping into Danganronpa 2. This is going into the music for the Rebuttal Showdown. Alright, so I'll just play it for you, just so you can just make sure you know what I'm on about here. Alright, so that is the Rebuttal Showdown music. You sometimes don't notice it, and it's kind of, I'm not going to play more than that because it's obviously it's repetitive because it's a looping game. It needs to loop for however long the Rebuttal Showdown goes on. Alright, so we'll jump back to the start here and we'll just start analysing this. So we have the start bit here, which is just the introductory bit. You have there's a lot of still secret patterns here. Actually, I'm gonna pause. Like here, there's a there's sort of a there's just a little repeating note pattern. Now, if I jump back, you can kind of hear it repeats a few times, and then it sort of does a little descending thing, and then it starts again. I'm pretty much like, that's pretty much like, I like to think of this as like, it's another hope versus despair thing, as I'll point out later on. You kind of get the despair side of it. It's another thing where it's like a 1v1 hope versus despair. So we're now moving on to this bit. What I like is that like the Rebuttal Showdown is meant to be shown as like this crazy thing, like, you know, it's a 1v1, one-on-one, person doesn't agree with you and you have to like shut them down for it, and it's like, it has that element of craziness in it, because if you listen to the drum beat in this, you'll notice that it's actually completely irregular. I have tried like tapping this out with my fingers and I've been unable to like reliably reproduce it. It's complete freeform, which I think is really good. We'll just play a bit now. See, that's a drum beat. You can hear it's like very all over the place. It doesn't loop consistently. I think it does at the end of like the 3-minute piece, because that's obviously it has to loop for the game. And like you can hear, it's like it has this element of chaos to it. Like you've been interrupted mid-sentence. Like say good old your boy Hajime, he's been interrupted mid-sentence by someone who doesn't agree with him, by Mahiru or whatever. You know, he's a bit flustered, you know, and it gives you that sense of it. It gives you the sense of the perspective of what character you're playing. In this case, it's Hajime who's flustered because he's just been interrupted by someone, and you know that would throw you off a bit. That would throw you off your train of thought. Your mind would be a bit all over the place. And once again, with here you can hear the little repeated note pattern a lot more clearly. If you also listen now, it's also repeated in the bass line. If you listen, just listen for a little like very low pitch note. Doesn't really mean despair there. That's just the choice of the instrument for it, just to give it a bit of weight. I don't really think, because then you can hear it goes properly into the despair mode in a little bit. I'll just jump back a bit so you can hear it. So you just heard a little. So yeah, hopefully you heard it, and now if you couldn't hear it before, you want to listen to this bit next, and then you want to go back and hear it, and you'll be able to hear it a lot clearer once you know what you're listening for. You kind of need to hear past the main melody, if that makes sense. And then kind of jumps into a bridge. You can hear this. You can hear the little bit just below it. It's the same note pattern, and it's a lot darker, and I would like to think of that as like the despair side of the argument. You know, it's kind of, you have the hope bit, which is like, it has that light bit to it, but it just has the little bit underneath to give weight. That is 100% just the weight bit. That isn't any of the sort of light part of it. It's just 100% weight. So anyway, that's all the pieces I really wanted to look at. Is the main things I feel like will carry over into the Danganronpa multiplayer project. So anyway, what am I going to use? Well, I want to bring in, what am I going to use from this? What am I going to use, what I've learned from this? First, I want to use the subliminal like noises, like what you hear from the discussion heat up, where you have the little high pitch notes. And you know, I really like that. Like, it's one thing, it took me a long time to realize when I was listening to it. It's something that you just never notice, and I was just like listening to it one day on my way to college, because I always, if I'm not meeting friends on the bus to college, I would listen to the Danganronpa soundtrack because I'm that much of a nerd. But I know it's just one thing I realized. I was just like, well, hang on. I was like, hang on, there's something there. Pause back, rewound it a bit, listen to it, and once you listen past the main melody, that's what all this is. But that's when you can actually really get to like dissect the music and like figure out what's making you feel what. Because you never realize that you're like feeling dread, but you can feel it, and you don't know what's causing it. Like I when I listen to it now, like I always feel a bit uneasy. Like I always felt uneasy when it came to this music. I was just like, and I couldn't figure it out. I thought it was just like the theme of the game, but I realized it's actually the atmosphere the music was creating. And that's one thing I love about Masafumi's work. He has done an amazing job with like making the right atmosphere with this music. So yeah, pretty much I want to keep use that. I want to bring in like these little recurring themes, like in the cross sword. You know, putting a little twist on it for hope, putting a little twist on it for hope, putting a little twist on it for despair. And need to come up with a theme for So anyway, just kind of gonna recap from what we did in the dev stream. Pretty much I will be just mixing the existing themes, so like this theme. So for instance, I'll just remix this. I'll remix this. And just little bits like that. Just put a little bit of my own touch on it. They'll probably come in like when we're approaching beta stage. Oh, something if you didn't see actually. I think something I should probably mention is that I did put out a sort of basic release roadmap. If I just get up on the video now, it should be there. Should be there now. So this is a release roadmap. Obviously, all of it is it's not actually big enough. It's actually too big to fit on the screen. So yeah, right now we're looking at the I'll have the multiplayer trial beta. That'll be coming out in July and August this year. I'm hoping. Obviously, this is game development. Dates are very subject to change. I've tried to be as realistic as I can with the dates, but obviously you can never tell with what's going to happen with this. Then we have the first alpha release. This will contain the daily life, and this will contain the daily life and trial with all the basic killing features. A lot of textures are still going to be missing at that stage. A lot of models are going to be missing. It's going to look awful, but hopefully that's why I want to get the gameplay narrowed down. Then as we approach into early 2018, I want to be entering beta phase. This one I will be adding in the better models, the textures, you know, the character models, character customization, that'll all be coming in beta. And then we'll have the full release coming in somewhere in the middle of 2018. Obviously this is a large project, so it is going to take a long time to develop. So I reckon a year to make it is quite reasonable, but obviously we'll have to see how it goes. This is, all data always subject to change, this is not confirming anything whatsoever. So just to recap, the multiplayer trial beta, which will be a set story where you just play through with your friends instead, and you can do like all the non-stop debates with your friends, and like you'll all have slightly different truth bullets. It'll be a set story just like the regular Danganronpa betas, like the little trials. You know, just how Danganronpa does it. Gonna give you a little insight into how it works. Just give it into the sort of UI style. That is going to be very early on. Some UI probably isn't going to be finished and is going to change from that stage, because I don't think I'm not 100% happy with the UI I have at the moment. I mean, it's getting there, but it's not 100% there yet. Will be doing a dev stream around the time of the trial system beta, just to sort of announce it, go through what's in it, what isn't in it, what you can expect. Then the next dev stream will be coming in just before the first alpha release is available. So that will be when I can like go over, right, so what is in this version, what isn't in this version, what's coming up, what's not coming up. Oh, and also just a little sort of, I did tweet about this on my personal Twitter. I did tweet about it on Danganronpa MP Twitter, and I did chuck it in the Discord. I did message about it in the Discord. Discord links down below, by the way. We do have a Discord running now. Got a few people in there having some great times. And yeah, pretty much the mansion map, I had my engine like completely messed up for some reason. I don't know why. I may have done something on my end, but pretty much I managed to recover the trial grounds. So the Marble Pillars trial grounds, that's still on its way. That will still be the first trial grounds that you'll be able to do your trials in, for your despairing, for your hoping, whatever you want. However, I'm having to scrap the mansion map since the file is 100% corrupted now, and Unreal Engine refuses to read it now. So I can't edit it, I can't get into its files, so it's pretty much lost. So instead, I'll be moving on to sort of what I was planning to be part of, like a sort of canon update. Will be coming into the first alpha release, and that'll be the Hope's Peak map. I will be doing the first map, will be based on Hope's Peak Academy then. It will be based on what you can see in the first game, a little bit of what we see in Danganronpa 3 Despair arc. So yeah, hopefully that'll be really good. It's gonna it'll be a project that hopefully will be easier for me to do, because I obviously have a reference guide being the games and Danganronpa 3 Despair arc. And hopefully we'll be able to do quite a lot with it. Hopefully it'll meet your guys' expectations. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this dev stream edition. Planned for it to go on a little bit longer, but I've gone through everything a lot faster than I expected to. So anyway, I hope you guys liked. Make sure to subscribe for more content on Danganronpa MP. Follow the Danganronpa MP Twitter down below, and make sure to also jump in the Discord if you have Discord. We're having some great times in that. Ton of always discussing the development stuff in there. Sort of getting feedback from you guys in there a lot as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. And I'll see you all in the next dev stream or video or whatever, whenever I next talk to you. Bye.